Difficult conversations do not have to be difficult. Would you believe me? Would you think that this is clickbait? Possibly. Well, I'm here to share with you difficult conversations do not have to be difficult. And in this video, this is a question and answer. If you are a woman in leadership and you are at a point where you're having a difficult conversation with a team member or you're planning for it, ask me anything. I know how challenging it can be having a difficult conversation, especially as a leader, and I'm here to support you on your journey. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is not clickbait. Difficult conversations do not have to be difficult. They don't have to be difficult specifically. Now, I want to give you some insights from what I've learned over the past 20 years, being in senior leadership roles, to give you some insight in terms of why difficult conversations do not have to be difficult. As long as you plan in advance, it will help you out tremendously. So let me know what questions you have about difficult conversations, and let's talk about them briefly today. If you're new to me, my name is Dr. Jacinta. Welcome, and I'm here to help you be able to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure. If you are a woman in leadership, you are in my direct target audience. If you happen to be a man in leadership or somebody thinking about leadership and you're not sure if you want to go into it just yet, you will gain a tremendous amount of value on this channel. So I want to say hello to Cat 23rd. Hello, Cat. Cat says, hey, Doc. Good morning, Cat. Hope you're doing well today. So let's talk about why difficult conversations are sometimes difficult, why people make them more challenging what they need to be. Well, a lot of times with difficult conversations, when we hear the word difficult, many people just tense up and think, oh, like, I don't want to have this conversation. It's going to be hard. I don't know what to say. I don't know how it's going to go, and etc. This is the reason why people really struggle with difficult conversations, for that reason. Difficult, people sometimes assign the automatic connotation to it that it has to be hard. And difficult does mean it's a challenge. But what if that challenge helps you to become better? Would it still be difficult? Yes, it would be. But you know that there's some growth that's going to happen. Every difficult conversation you have is an opportunity for you to grow as a leader in terms of how you communicate and how you handle those situations. So if there's anything that you, let's say for instance, want to get out of this live, I want you to know that I want you to know that I do not want you to be afraid of difficult conversations. Be that person that is okay with having difficult conversations, because majority of the leaders, whether you are a woman in leadership, whether you are a man in leadership, we do not like having difficult conversations. And if you can be that leader that stands out from everybody else, that can have difficult conversations with ease, then you automatically set yourself apart from everybody else. Cat 23rd says you also learn in the process when you go through difficult conversations. Cat, that's a really fantastic insight, and that is so true. And this is the reason why I want to make sure that my audience knows that these very common myths that we have as leaders, difficult conversations, making eye contact, advocating for yourself, and etc., they do not have to always result in something negative. They can result in something very, 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 very positive. Just as Kat mentioned, many times during the process, you will learn a lot. There's been some difficult conversations that I have had where I have learned quite a bit. And if you all have any questions as it relates to difficult conversations, feel free to let me know in the comments below. But I will share with you one of the difficult conversations that I had that I actually learned the most out of. When I was in a leadership role, I don't want to say which one because there's legal reasons why I can't. But when I was in a leadership role many years ago, there was a peer of mine that I was communicating with because there was an issue that happened in the workplace. And I made all of the fatal mistakes that I tell you all not to make when it comes to having difficult conversations with someone. First mistake I made, number one, I had the difficult conversation at the end of the day. Number one. Sorry, somebody's trying to pass by and I let them go. Okay, I had it at the end of the day. Bad idea, horrible idea. Don't do that. Second, I had a witness with me, but I was not prepared for the conversation to go in a difficult direction. I came in it as, in the conversation, basically, okay, we're going to have a conversation. This is the issue. This is the challenge. This is what we can do to fix it, and that's it. I didn't have a dialogue. I somewhat had a dialogue with this person. It wasn't as nice as I would like for it to be, and the person just was a highly contentious individual. I didn't really know that, but I learned that they were really just a very contentious person. And during this conversation, the conversation went in a very, very negative direction so fast that I felt like I was threatened, like my life was threatened. And I really did not know what to do. And I share with you all the timing of when you have your difficult conversations, who knows about your difficult conversation, and etc. is really, really very, very important, because all that dictates what happens. Now, I will say I can go a bit more into detail specifically on my difficult conversation and some steps that I did to help mitigate it, but there's a lot of aspects of this conversation specifically that I could have completely done a lot better. I may go into more detail on that this evening. I will be going live this evening and doing another Q&A, because I do want to share at least what I learned from this conversation more in detail with a little bit more time, because this is one of the biggest conversations that I had that I really learned a lot from. I learned a tremendous amount from, and I just don't want you all to make mistakes that I made. So I will be live this evening. I will not be live tomorrow because it's Good Friday, but I will be live this evening. So let me see what's in the chat. Cat 23 says, question, is it a wise strategy to like work on it when you are alone during your private time, then figure it out when you encounter a difficult conversation? Yes, so Cat, that's a really great question. And I'll answer that really briefly. And we could talk a bit more about that a little bit later this evening. But when it comes to difficult conversations, it is somewhat like a combination approach. There are a couple things that you have to start working on privately. How do you manage stress? What are your triggers? How do you respond emotionally to situations? And if you need some guidance on that, you're welcome to contact me for an executive strategy session at exciteexcellence.org. But there's an individual part that you have to work on by yourself in terms of how do you manage situations when they come up. Now, the second part of that is when you are in those difficult conversations, you want to make it to where you're not trying to figure out too much. You have to be somewhat prepared for the conversation. And a great way to do this, Kat, is when you are speaking to someone after you've done your self-preparation, because there's a lot of self-preparation that has to happen for you to be able to successfully manage a difficult conversation. This is why you work with an executive coach, or like myself, or you subscribe to my channel. But the part when you're actually with someone and having that conversation, there's a little bit of, I would say, maybe not figuring out, but trying to understand that person's point of view and their perspective. They may be thinking something completely different than what you are thinking. And you have to be open-minded as a leader to know that even though you may be having a difficult conversation with someone and you may come in with your agenda that you want to discuss, make it like a collaborative conversation. I have found, and I have been extremely successful with this, every difficult conversation I have had, I have made it to a point where it is a conversation, not I'm telling you what to do, this is your problem, this is what you did incorrectly. Because when it happens that way, that's when the conversation can go in a very contentious direction unexpectedly. So that's a really great question, Kat. There's a lot of preparation you have to do with yourself to manage those difficult conversations. It is going to be really hard for someone to say, oh, I'm ready to have a difficult conversation today. And then when they have it, they're like, whoa, I had no idea this was going to happen. No, you have to prepare. Anything when you're trying to advance yourself as an executive, as a leader, as a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever the case may be, your career, there is preparation that you have to do. And even though people may think these are somewhat soft skills as it relates to communication, these are definitely hard skills, because if you're not able to manage difficult conversations, it's going to make it very hard for you to lead other people, because this is a part of the job that you do. So it's a really great question, Cap. Multiple ways to work on it. Preparation privately, yes, but then when you're in front of someone, that's where you have to use and pretty much put everything we talk about together on the channel into one conversation so that you master that conversation. Kat says appreciate it. Absolutely. You are so very welcome. So I will see you all later this afternoon. If you have any questions that come up specifically as it relates to difficult conversations, Kat, I appreciate the question that you asked. Thank you for the heart emoji. That was a really great question. If you have any other questions, just let me know. I will be live this evening, and we're going to go into difficult conversations into a lot more detail. I'll share with you the biggest difficult conversation I had, what I learned from it, what I would do, what I did differently at that point, and then we'll just go into it because I want to make sure I'm supporting you all. I know I will not be live tomorrow, but I want to make sure I give you as much insight as I can so you can get ready to have those hard conversations. I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.